pituitary should be in that little region of the skull known as the sella turcica, which is where the pituitary sits, and the optic chiasm is located right over that. The two hemispheres of the brain are also separated by the structure known as the falx cerebri, which is the sort of a connective tissue structure, and the corpus callosum would be located right about there that connects the two hemispheres of the brain together. This shows the blood coming into the brain. It literally perfuses the arteries, then goes through the capillaries. So when you ask where the blood-brain barrier is, it's wherever these capillaries and the tight junctions are within the brain. So the blood-brain barrier is that space, or the barrier between the blood in the capillaries and the interstitial fluid in the brain. So the fluid gets, the nutrients get into the interstitial fluid, and they then bathe the neurons, which can obviously take up the glucose, so that brain cells don't typically require insulin to be able to take up glucose. And then you see, ultimately, the blood goes back into the venous system and exits through the jugular vein. So this literally is the capillary architecture. So that's the location of the blood-brain barrier right there, all those tight junctions. And you can see the CSF circulation again. Remember, the CSF is secreted in the choroid plexus and the ventricles. It then literally is surrounding the brain itself and the sulci. It's located in the subarachnoid space, and it's not within the brain tissue itself. That's where you have the brain interstitial fluid, and that's what the blood-brain barrier separates the blood in the vascular system from the neural tissue. And the reason for that, they think, is to prevent toxins from getting in and damaging the nerves, which obviously control all those different body functions. So this shows the return of the CSF through these arachnoid granulations, which then drain into the venous sinuses. This shows the subarachnoid space, and you can sort of get an idea of the arachnoid. It sort of looks like a spider web with the cellophane appearing portion actually known as the pia mater. So you have the dura mater, the pia mater, and the arachnoid mater. So and it literally functions or sits as a pad on the brain. So pia, arachnoid, and dura is how it goes. Okay, so the blood-brain barrier consists of glial cells, the astrocytes, which are going to secrete paracrine molecules that influence the development of the tight junctions on the capillary cells. You also get some of the astrocyte projections helping to seal that barrier, so you can see the tight junctions in the capillary endothelium. Remember, capillaries are only one cell thick, so you have individual red cells traveling via these capillaries that are then going to supply the oxygen, and in the plasma you have the glucose. Okay, the blood-brain barrier, we talked about it. It's got high mitochondrial content in the cells and the capillaries, a thick basement membrane, and the low wall thickness. They don't have, the cerebral capillaries don't have fenestrations, so they don't allow proteins to leak out usually. They don't have lots of vesicles or fluid-filled transport vessels. The blood-brain barrier allows passage of certain molecules, small molecules like water and other gases. And if you've ever noticed, if you're going in for anesthesia, they give you gaseous anesthetics like halothane and fluorine, and they ask you to count back from 100. You go 100, 99, 98, and you're typically out by 97. So it doesn't take long at all, because when you inhale these gases, it goes from the lung directly to the left side of the heart, which then sends it directly to the brain and the rest of the body. So it doesn't take very long at all to be able to get that gas to the brain to be able to knock the individual out. And they still literally don't know how anesthetic agents work. They use them every day, all the time. They don't know how they work. They don't know how alcohol causes its effect to get you drunk, but they know it does. So it's just one of those things that was a great development for medicine, but they still don't understand the function and what's going on, much like they don't understand how many of the psychiatric meds work. All right, so I think that's a good place to stop, and I'll talk to everybody on Zoom. So if you have any questions, I'm going to try to do Zoom sessions maybe every time we have class, and as long as I can, I'll keep trying to post these videos. So we'll see you next time.